Hello, friends. How is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Okay, I'm just writing something out here. Everybody joins in. We'll get settled in. Hope everybody's super excited to paint some ducks. Be quacking all night long. Actually, the ducks are like the very most minuscule part about this. All right, so make sure you say hi. If you're just joining, let me know where you are. If you're not, well, just let me know where you are. Doesn't matter where you are. Besides home, I know everybody's probably home or somewhere near their home. So I'm at home, you're at home, we're all at home. Home is where the heart is. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Sybil. Yeah, weather. Just can't count on that dang weather lately. I was like totally flabbergasted by the snow the other day. Thanks, Colleen. Way to chime in. Yeah, Dar, sweet that you're from Ottawa. That's awesome. That is roughly I think 10-hour drive from me. Longer? Maybe 9 or 10. Nice, Rachel. I'm also kid-free today. Thank you, Grandma. It's very nice to have a break once in a while. Hey, Emily. Hey, Deb. Great to see you. Ready to roll. Come on, roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Hey, Kate. We're rolling all night long. Still need to finish your owl, Courtney. Yeah. Yeah, the owl is something you could continue to work on forever. You just keep making little feathers, fixing the eyes, making little feathers, fixing the eyes. Hey, Denise from Woodsley. First name ever? Well, I'm so glad you made it. That's so awesome. Hey, Brienne. I'm so glad you made it too. This is so sweet. Actually, my second paint party today. I hosted one for an insurance company group in Essex, so that was kind of cool. I've been doing more like private party style paint parties. And it's been really sweet doing them with like a smaller group and being able to see everybody and paint together. Kind of like old times. Do you remember those times? Do you remember when we could hang out and have a drink and touch each other's faces? I remember those times. One day. The skinny brush you use for the weeds, what do you normally use? Hi, Anika. Yay, I'm from Ajax. That's so awesome. And Mary Lynn, Michaela, that's so cool. So Deb, I try and find, I have a series of these brushes. So personally, I prefer ones that, so I have this one here, which doesn't look very skinny right now, but when you put some water on it, that's the test. If you put some water on it and it can get like pretty thin like this, that is my favorite brush. And then I have variations of that same brush, but I basically just take the one that's closest to me at the time. I have like a pile of brushes here and it's like, oh, I'm gonna take that one. But generally I think it's about the same size as, so it's 1 inch long, this here. And a lot of people curse me about using the long skinny brush when we're doing our actual parties because long brushes can get away from you, but once you get used to them, they make these beautiful long lines, and skinny grass and all the nice little detail parts. If you can kind of get used to that little pull that it has. Yeah, Nancy, I know. Thanks. I miss it too. Yes, the ducks. So to be honest, this is actually a painting that It's like one of the very first paintings I made when I started my business. And I love doing it. But I definitely, over the years, started printing out ducks and then giving them to people so they could trace them first to color them in. So I am going to suggest that later. If you don't want to do the ducks with me right now, you could totally like print some off on the computer and trace them first. No audio for you. Oh, well, that sucks. Is everybody have no audio right now? Because generally my consensus is, or my disclaimer is, that I live in the deep south of Colchester, or of Essex County in Colchester, and we don't have cable here, which means no cable internet, no fiber optics. We're like on satellite, and we live in the county in the middle of nowhere, so I can't, yeah, internet's a tough go these days. Okay, yeah, so if you don't have audio, obviously you couldn't hear me anyways, but maybe just check and see if if your audio, or like your phone is turned on, if your volume's up. That's me turning up my volume. Okay, cool. So just check your phone. Somebody write that, check your phone. Perfect. And make sure you guys are saying hi and tell me where you're from. Yay. Cool. Everybody can hear. Tom, you can hear me. Can you feel me near you? What's another good? Nope, not coming to me. I had the wrong site going for you. Okay. That's confusing. Yay, hi Joe. Yeah, Sammy just texted me and let me know you guys are painting with me. Yay, I'm glad you guys are here. How touch the center of the picture? I don't know. Gonna have to check your phone. Check your phone, Denise. Check your phone. To me today on my other call. Hi, Maggie. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Daniela. And Nancy. And Annie. That's cool. Hi, Carla. Yay. Allison in the heart of Windsor. Rose City. Hi, Ruthie in Essex. And joining from Waynfleet. Nice. Carrie, where's Waynfleet? I have no idea. I'm not too horrible, but I'm not really sure where that is. Hi, Jenny. Yay! I'm up again. That's awesome. Killing it. Hey, Susan from Tilbury. Got canvases and paint and Wolfhead whiskey. Perfect. I have not been to the liquor store, so I have cracked my husband's bottle of Macallan 12-year. So cheers to you, Jim. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm totally repping Eluge's I can't. I'm not going to try and say it backwards. That's just ridiculous. I always did know growing up, though. My last name's Robinson, Julie Robinson. And backwards, it's Eluge Najnabor. Little tidbit for you. Cottamish. Cottamish is a very nice place. Colburn and Dunville. Thank you, Carrie. Caden and Coach. Down in the Coach. Nice. In St. Thomas and Maryland and Leamington. All right, so we're just hanging out and chilling for the next 6 minutes. I just like to hop on early so I can say hi and make sure everybody and get settled in. I already have my paints on my palette besides the black. So just remember, guys, when you are squirting your paints on your palette, they're your paints, so you can replenish anytime you want. So just remember, start small, and you can always add more to your palette. We're going to be in painting probably for a little bit longer, so you want to conserve, and the best way to do that is just a little at a time. Don't go crazy. Even when I think I'm squirting just a little bit, I'm squirting way more than I could possibly need to get through a painting. So just keep that in mind. Start small, go big. Hey, Terry from Wheatley. I caught the St. Thomas thing. I thought I put that together, Tina. Cool. Upper Michigan. That's awesome. Valerie and Debbie from Windsor. And hey, Patty. And my mom's watching. Hi, Mom. She has my daughter. Hi, Story. Story gets her cast off tomorrow, so that's pretty exciting. After her debacle a few weeks ago. Yay, Sandy from Aurelia. Cool. So beautiful there. And hi, Jennifer from the Berg. Love me some Berg action. It's always nice. Keep it local. I hope everybody's doing good and just, you know, staying safe as possible, and hope everybody is well. So anybody new who's tuning in, just make sure you say hi and tell me where you're from. And we're going to get started in T-minus 4 minutes. 4 minutes and counting. And that's the painting we're doing tonight. We got some duck action, but let's be honest, it's mostly about the sunset and the beautiful colors. Bonjour, Christine. Hi, Monique. Oh, hey, Brooke from Wisconsin. I'm so happy to have this class for you. Fuzzies. Yay, even Ella from Niagara Falls. That's wonderful. And hi, Valerie from LaSalle. And Wendy from Niagara Falls. Wonderful. That's so great. I haven't been to Niagara Falls in years. Years and years and years. Joy from Harrow. Local Styles. Kathy from the Berg. Awesome. Born and raised. I'm from the Berg. Born and raised. The playground is where I spend most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all, shooting some b-ball outside of the school when a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got one, my mom got scared and said, move with the auntie and Uncle Bel-Air. Jennifer Tecumseh. Yay, Caitlin, Amy, and Maddie. Awesome. Comb Show's watching. What up? Saguenay, Lac Saint-Jean, Quebec. C'est beau, Christine. Merci. And then hi from Illinois. Awesome. Wow, that's so cool, guys. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Zang. Painting is the best. The best ever. And Nikki and Avery. Yay, 2 days in a row. Painted with you guys yesterday, and I actually ended up painting the same painting today with a group, a local group from Essex here. So I was all, it was like I was just like repeating my life over and over again. Like we're in some sort of weird looping quarantine or something like that. What happened? Hey. Hey, Linda. Thanks for showing up. Okay, T-minus 2 minutes and we're started. Just remember, we're just here to have fun. We're making an awesome painting and we're not going to be super hard on ourselves today. We're just going to take lots of deep breaths and laugh and listen to my cockamamie tidbits about painting this entire time. So you got your ducks printed already, Daniela? That's awesome. So that is something too. I was just saying to everybody who's showing up now, when I have these parties, I usually print out tiny little ducks so they can trace them. So everybody's happy with their ducks at the end of it. So the ducks might be something that you want to add later after the party. Even though I am going to show you how to do it straight up with no mold stencil. That's the word I'm looking for. Swansea, New Hampshire? Is that where that is, Linda? Because that's pretty cool. Hi, Darcy and Erica. And hey, Laura. Yay. Okay. 7:30, let's get this party officially started. So, Hi everybody, I'm Julie. Thanks for stopping by my studio today. And we are going to paint these beautiful ducks together. And before we get started, I just want to say the most enormous thank you to everybody for showing up and everybody who's chiming in and sending me all of your paintings. It has been like my heart is just full all the time and I appreciate it, sending donations and all the stuff. And I have requests to be sent donations. So if anybody is loving this, I have a few links in the description of the video and I have a few links in one of the first comments of the video if you want to tip me or donate. If not, awesome. Painting is just the best. Another way you can show your love is just sharing with everybody when you can. You can also go straight to my website, which is juliespaintparty.com. And the first thing you see there is like a thing that says, hey, sign up. And I send out like one newsletter a month. So you can stay in touch that way too if you want to. Western North Carolina, that's awesome. I'm so excited for how many people are coming in from everywhere. This is the best. So just a few rules when it comes to painting, since you guys have your own stuff. So basically, I was saying earlier, you are using your own paints. What I have on my palette right here is like way more than it should be. I definitely did not follow my own rules. Since you have your own paints, just squirt a little at a time. You don't have to squirt the whole bottle on your plate. We're going to be painting for a while together, so conserve. Just so you can paint longer. It just makes sense. And then one of my other rules when it comes to painting is I have a red Solo cup here that has water in it. I keep it from my whiskey. I do not want to swish my brush into my whiskey, so I learned the hard way, and everybody does. And then I also don't want to drink the paint water. There's something very inviting about a red Solo cup that your brain just doesn't correspond when you're painting. So just keep them separate. Just know your drinks like on the left or the right, and your left, everybody will be happy in the end. Drinking gross paint water. Awesome. So, where to begin? Like I said, we're going to be doing this beautiful background, and I have all the colors here, and we are going to do the whole background first with this big 3/4 inch brush. All right. And this is how it's going to work. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to talk to you, and then I'm going to go, beep, and then I'm going to paint, paint, paint. So that's the big technical way I do this. My phone is on a microphone stand attached, and I can twist and turn and pivot as I please. So everybody get your paints together. Let's get ready to rumble. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in the middle with our paint, and we're going to work our way up, and then we're going to start back in the middle, and we're going to work our way down. Okay. Sweet. I love how there's people here talking to, like, you guys have your own groups going on, which is so killer. All right, so let's get this jam started. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right in the middle here with our light source. And our light source is, at first, I'm going to start with a scoop of white. So I have my palette here. Just gonna, and this just gets us started. Obviously, it doesn't really make sense putting white on a white canvas, but this is, just know that this is going to be nice and light here. And we're going to start in the middle of the canvas. Even just a little below center is where our sun's going to be, this area. Then I'm going to take some yellow, and I'm going to mix in some yellow all around it. And just notice this is the brush stroke. So I'm going back and forth, and there's something really magical what that happens when you have a combination of enough paint brush. All right. So make sure that you're not getting stingy. I said get stingy with your paints on your palette. We don't want to be stingy on the canvas because when our paint is still wet, it's really to blend our color. So you can see I'm kind of working around this white area, And you can see my two colors coming together here. So it's a little bit lighter in the middle. And even if it all turns yellow, it's totally okay too. We are going to add a little bit of white later. And I really like to keep it pretty thick here because we're going to be adding some orange in and around this area. And my rule of thumb is when it comes to blending paints is we want the colors to blend, but we also want to see each unique color. We don't want the color to turn into a brand new color fully. It's cool to see a new color coming through our little like merging areas, but eventually we want to see yellow, we want to see orange, and that's just something to keep in mind as we're kind of paint on there. And then also another rule that you can, if a bit of issues with blending, you can do a little tiny dip of your brush in your water and then a little tap on your palette, and that just lubes it up a little bit, keeps it loose, and keeps it flowing. Okay, so I didn't even wash my brush or anything. I still got that yellow on there, and I'm just going to start gently bringing the orange and the yellow together. Now, you can even think of these brush strokes like almost like a figure 8 motion, like it's like a swaying, almost like a rocking. Shoo, shoo, shoo. If you need to think of yourself like swishing down a mountain, shoo, shoo, shoo. And the more you go back and forth, and the more you can withstand putting paintbrush strokes on your canvas, the more those two colors are going to come together, and you're going to find that there's these magical little wisps in there. And every once in a while, if you feel like a color is taking over, like I just felt like my orange was taking over the middle there a little bit, I grabbed a little yellow, those colors together just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. And we're going all the way around that center area. So what you might find might happen, you might end up, you might end up having more orange than me, you might end up having more yellow than me. And that's the beautiful part about painting, is that it's really up to you, and it's okay. It does not have to look exactly like mine. I can promise you guys that it is going to look like a sunset if you follow randomly. And it might seem like I'm going quick, but it's because the colors should really just come together kind of magically. So check it out. This is the brush stroke I'm using. Back and forth, back and forth. It's like almost like a figure 8 motion, only we're not completing the like little circle, but the brush is going back and forth. And just think, it's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. I know if you're sitting, it's all in the hips of your mind. It's all in the hips of your mind. Okay? So at that point, I'm just going to give my brush a little rinse. As we start to move up the canvas, what we're going to do is we're going to start marbling in a little yellow and then a little red with our orange, but the main part of the background is going to be more orange than anything else. And the best part about orange is that it's a pretty opaque color, so it goes on pretty solid, which is a great primer for the red that we're going to be putting on next. So for anybody that just might have chimed in, what we did is we started with white in the middle, and then we went around the edges of the white, and we brought in some yellow, and we had enough paint on our brush that when we added some orange, it mixed together with the yellow, and I did these like swooping brush strokes. Shoo, shoo, shoo. I wish I could hear you guys right now. Honestly, sound effects are a total secret sauce move. All right. So now that we're here, I gave my brush a little rinse just because it starts to get a little mucky. And just remember, at any time, if your brush, if it's not on the right color and you don't like it, just give it a rinse, start fresh, There's no rush here, okay? So I'm gonna go back into my orange. So I'm gonna take a nice, get me started. I'm gonna slap it on there. Just right across. Just to get it nice and wet again. We want some more wet paint on there. And then I'm going to take a little extra yellow. So I'm going to start just marbling in some extra bit of yellow. Is always really nice. And I really want you guys to embrace how your paintbrush is putting on the paint. Because that's the one thing about sunsets is nobody's ever looks the same. They look similar, but you're not going to have the same brush strokes as somebody else. And that's like what it's all about. It's not about being a copycat. It's just about enjoying the process. And just putting this paint on is so freeing and relieving. And I put like the oldest paint that I have because I just want to use up my paints, and it's got all sorts of little gickies in it. But I don't care. That's fun. Texture. It's all about texture. So I'm continuing to alternate right now. So I have a little orange, a little yellow, and then I have a little orange, and then I have a little yellow. I'm just lightly, every time I kind of wisp up, I wisp up and off the canvas, and I'm bringing the colors together. But like I said, you can still see the unique colors in there. All right. And then we are going to go all the way to the top. And once we get to the top, we can start adding our red. And this is something that I say at a lot of my parties. Anytime we use red, if anybody has painted a room red, you know that it takes like 2 coats of primer and then like 8 coats of red to make it look that solid red, okay? So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting on the orange so that when I start to add the red, it already has that primer on it, on my canvas. So it becomes a lot more solid because red is a very transparent color. And we don't want it to be see-through. We want it to be vibrant. We want it to be vibrant and colorful. Once that's on there, I don't want to stop because it still has a little bit of wetness to it, and we still want to get a few little streakies up there. So I gave my brush a little rinse, and then I'm going to take a scoop of red, and I'm going to start wisping in some red from the top. And this is where you guys can get pretty creative. So taking nice big scoops of red and mixing it in there. And you can see I just gently bring my brush back and forth. And all these little stroke marks, just remember, like, man, every single night there's a new sunset. There's a new sky that we get to enjoy and love. And they never look the same. And there's all sorts of different shaped clouds. So tonight, my sunset is going to be filled with wispy clouds, and you can get pretty. You can start doing little swoopies. And when I'm doing this, I'm just really gently touching the canvas. I'm not touching too hard, but I'm still letting those colors together. And I'm having a lot of fun with this. This does not my original painting, okay? It's a new painting. It's a new day. It's the dawn of a new day. Now, guys, one of the other things I like to say at my parties is, since you're going to want to put this on your living room wall, you're done with it, on the main mantle in your main living room, you're going to want to finish the sides too. So anytime you kind of reach a side, you can just take your paint and swish along the edges here. And if you're using, well, I kind of got out of control right there. If you're using paper or cardboard or like a canvas board, then don't worry about it. Just forget that step altogether. If you don't have sides on your canvas, Don't worry about it. Just using what we got. Oh man, I recycled this really sweet cardboard box the other day, and I felt kind of bad because I know not everybody has canvases, but I really had to clean out my garage, and it was just like a perfect piece of cardboard that I was like, somebody would really love to use this for a painting. So here is a little tip that is totally optional. If you want to put a little bit of like kind of ominous dark sky, you can always take a little mixture. You can take a little red and grab a little bit of that brown too. You can mix through here, and you can darken up some of those little areas too. Maybe look like there's a little bit of rain in the clouds or something. Something, you know? But like I said, totally optional, not necessary. If you're feeling like you want to get a little fancy, please do. And I'll just give you guys a few more minutes to finish that up there. And then once our whole canvas is filled up to there, then we're going to just paint the whole rest of the canvas. And we won't see any of it, but again, this is going to be kind of like a primer down here for our next steps. So, let me know when you guys are feeling like you're ready to move on. And like I always say, if I'm going a little too fast, I put all of these recordings up later. So the live videos that I've done so far for free are all still up on my Facebook page, and they'll be up there at least until the end of the quarantine. So you can do these at any time. You can always go back and rewind and make sure you got all the steps in if you think I'm going a little bit fast right now. And if you do, I'm sorry. I just can't help it. I get really excited. I get so excited. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tommy Boy, but like, I often feel like him when he's like chatting with David Spade table, this thing, and he's like, and I love him and I caress him and then I rip his head off. And that's exactly what happens to me when I get things. I break things. I get so excited. Okay. So we can work on this for a long time, and we can actually come back to it after. What I'm going to do now is this is going to be our horizon line here. So we're going to cut through right here, and we're going to start by just adding a little bit of extra orange on the bottom. So right around the bottom here, I'm going to take a scoop of orange, and I'm just going to wisp it along the bottom of the canvas. Nothing overly complicated. A lot of this ends up getting covered up. I am going to just take a little bit of yellow too in here. Up the center area on its own again, so it's okay. It doesn't look like if you guys have a picture up of the original or anything. So I'm just taking orange and a tiny little bit of yellow along this bottom line here. And then I'm going to add the red. So I'm just going to take this red and I'm going to start wisping it in along the bottom. And then I'm going to fill this whole area in. And you're going to see when you're filling in the area at the bottom of the canvas with only red down here, how see-through it is when you're only using red. It's a pretty transparent color, so that's what ends up happening. But this is going to be a primer for our next step. So just take some scoops of red and let's fill this whole area in here. All right. Fill, fill, fill. Fill, fill, fill. Shoo, 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 shoo. Oh, I almost just squirted some paint to my drink. Yes, it is nice. And the thing about using like these kind of cheap paints, you can still get such beautiful paintings, but the paint does dry really, really fast. So to stay on top and not overthink it, you kind of got to move so that these colors get blended together. And yeah, that's kind of nice, eh? I never really that way, but it really is that way. You kind of just got to like take a deep breath and dive in. So once that's filled in, I can, you can always take like little brush strokes and just add a little bits in the sky here. You can take little extra pieces of white, and this is totally optional. You do not have to do this. Just do extra things that you can do in your sky if you want to. And I'm always just using this like kind of like a motion. Just with my brush, just take it and shoo, 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 shoo. But I mean, you can get kind of crazy in this department, so I really do suggest there's like always like a sweet spot. If you like how it looks, just stop. Just stop, because it's really easy to go overboard, and then you bring it past that. It was like, you're like, oh, I really love it. And then you work on it too much, and then you're like, oh, why did I do that? I should have just left it the way it was before. Which is a very real thing. And it doesn't matter how long you've been painting for. It happens. So just be mindful and know that you can keep adding to if you want to, but the more you add, the more likely it is that you will probably end up having to fix something later. So keep that in your little noggin there, and I'm just going to have a little drink while you guys finish up. And remember, you can paint the sides of your canvas as well. I hope everybody's having a good time so far. It's always fun to get together with friends. And actually, that's what's been so cool about doing these Zoom, like I've been doing some Zoom private parties too, is that you actually are with your closest friends and everybody can still see each other, which is really nice. And then I get to see everybody too, and then you can like actually talk to people. It's kind of funny that I'm like kind of just like talking to myself right now, even though I know you're all here with me. It's definitely something to get used to. So everybody just give me like a thumbs up or a happy face, and no sad faces, okay? The last time I did this, somebody pushed a sad face and like everything got super sad on the screen. So don't do that. We want to keep it nice and happy in Paintville. In Paintville. Okay, so just remember, so like I said, if this all turned yellow here, that's probably even a good thing. I'm going to paint it a little more yellow just so I can show you guys the contrast there. Just going to yellow it up a little bit. So we really, really want this to be a nice, bright light right in the center here, because that's where our sun is setting, and it really, that really is the magic of the painting, whether you recognize it or not. That bright light coming from the center, just, you feel that sunset vibe. And it's so bright because it's literally just white. So what I do is I just take some white on my brush and I whoosh it in, and I'm not making like a sunshine circle. It's a circular shape-ish, but they're like shaped with wispies. That's the only technical term I know. Wispy in all over the place. So right in the center there, I'm just taking a little bit of white, and it's almost like the sun's being covered by clouds, but it's still really, really bright behind the clouds there. And you can even bring some of that down into, this could be water. Who knows what this is back here? It really reminds me of our area where we live here in Essex County. We have lots of marshes. We're at the most southern point of Canada where I live. Well, almost, but pretty close. Pretty close to most southern place, and we're a huge bird migration route, and we have lots of beautiful, beautiful conservation areas that you can look through the marsh willows, and it's so beautiful here. Explain the the wispies. Explain them again. Got it, Brenda. So wispies, I just have a little paint on my brush, and wispies are like a rocking motion. So I'm just taking my brush and just making little tiny brush strokes back and forth. And I call them wispies because my brush kind of wisps off the canvas. It's either wisping off left or wisping off right. And I just go back and forth with my brush. And I really, really lightly because I don't want to like put big gobs of paint without knowing what was going to happen. So I start small, I add a few here and there, and then just be in the sky. So like I said, like when we're watching a sunset, it could be the clearest sky in the whole world, and there'll just be like one little cloud. Like, how did that cloud even get, you know? So it doesn't matter. You don't have to have anything uniform. Skies are not made to be super, like, not uniform isn't the word I'm looking, even, like, super even painting. It's the more sporadic and dynamic it is, the more beautiful it is. Leamington is the most southern now due to erosion. Interesting, Mary Lynn. I mean, I always think of Point Pelee as the most southern point. I'm in Colchester, which is also, we're down here. Even just Essex County in general is so south. A lot of us are more south than a lot of places in the States. We live in a very unique ecosystem here that I find fascinating. So when you guys are done adding all that red and putting your little white spot here, let me know when you're done. And then we can start moving forward with more wispies. With it just a little bit. I'm gonna say a whisper there, just a little bit. My brain is literally a catalog of random, so get ready. Jennifer's ready. I see a heart and a thumb. Brooke is ready. Bring it. Oh yeah, look at those thumbs. Checking in no time. All right, Michaela. Up. Perfect. So as we are going to move into the next realm of our painting, we have our whole background done, which is super awesome. And then we are going to we're going to start adding in our grassy knoll. This painting's so old, it has so many scuff marks on it from lugging it around everywhere. You can see in the background here, we're going to be using brown and we're going to be creating a depth of field. So there's these in the back here is a little bit darker. Black though, it's brown. And brown is also a see-through color. Oh no, no sad faces, come on. It's gonna be okay, I promise. I can't wait to see everybody's paintings, how they turn out this time. All right, so give your brush a good rinse. We are going to continue use the 3/4 inch nylon brush. Not angry faces, what? I'm like really new to this Facebook Live thing, so I just like everything means something to me. So basically I'm going to use this brush and I'm going to take some brown paint and I put my brush directly on the canvas and we're going to create a horizon line of weeds basically in the background here. But I just want you to notice that it's really, really close to the sun. So our sun is here in the middle, our really, really sun. We're going to stay fairly close. We're not going to go over top of it, but close enough that it looks really, really dynamic, almost like we're sitting in the bush in the painting. So I'm going to grab my brush and I'm going to put some brown paint on it. And then, I bring my brush back and forth so it flattens it out. I'm flattening my brush on my palette. And I put my brush straight on the canvas and I pull up. So we're going to be filling this in. I probably need some more paint on there. And one step at a time, I just take my brush and I pull up towards the sky. And every once in a while, I'll give it a once over. You can pull it down. This is all going to end up being brown down here, so it's okay if you do one of these and start filling it all in. But the most important part about this is wisping, the little wispy our brush. And the reason they wisp is because the more I put it straight on the canvas and I pull up and off, up and off, up and off. It's almost like flicking up towards the sky. Flicking. And this is all going to get covered up again, but this is a really good opportunity to practice this. See that it like makes these nice little grassy marks here. This is a flat brush that we've been using the whole time, the same brush that we did our whole background with, Crystal. And Debbie, that's cool, you're in Kingsville, very close. We just went and got sushi tonight from Kingsville. And Debbie, I'm super sorry if I keep freezing up on you. The only advice I have is if it really freezes, then just close down the page and start it again. And I promise we won't be so far ahead that that you will have missed something. The internet is very unpredictable. So I like to make a dynamic background here, so I start to taper it off over on this side, almost like it's like a little grassy knoll, like a hill. And this is going to be my shape of my hill. So this can be a little bit higher over here, then it comes down a little bit, then it goes back up a little bit, then it's going to cruise back down, and then just kind of straighten out towards the end over here. And I'm just still taking my brush and I'm just flicking up. And it's almost like the more you do this, the more separated your little bristles become here. So it ends up making it look a lot more grassy, which is great. And then once I'm done little hillscape there, then I'm just going to fill this all in with brown. And you're like, wow, what? Well, that's why, because it's nice to have that primer on there. So we have a base on there now, and it looks so cool when you have some of the red kind of poking through, when you can still see some of it in the background there. And you can see I'm still using that same motion, so I guess you can totally texture it up too, if you want to go back and forth, or if you want to keep it legit and keep going down, that's works as well. Fill all of the space in underneath. Fill it in just a little bit. Want to see you fill it in just a little bit. All right. And like I said, It's not gonna go on super amazing. It's gonna look kind of crappy, and that's okay, because it really creates this cool dynamic when we start putting our grassies over top. Still see some of that red poking through your brown. It really, really does something. Really does something, you know? Really is something. Thanks, Rachel. Yes. So if anybody is in doubt, that is a wonderful practice to be had. Walk away for a second, walk away from your painting, and turn around and come back to it, and then how it looks. If you're feeling you're like, oh, this doesn't really look very good, I promise you it probably looks a lot better. Jen, use brown. That was all brown. Here, I'll try and focus in on a little bit more if I can. I don't know how to do this. It's a brown. It's called espresso. It's just one of those colors from the dollar store. This guy here. And like I said, thank you for asking the questions, because I'm super happy to answer any questions you guys have, or about any kind of technique or what colors we're using. And yeah, just let me know that if it's going well, because I don't want to know if it's not. Haha, just kidding. I totally want to know. Once you are done filling in this area, totally take your brush and throw it in your cup for now. Give it a little swish around. So one of my other rules for painting is when I'm not using a brush anymore that has paint on it, I just leave it in the cup until I can wash it properly after. I never really rely on my cup rinsing that it's going to be clean enough, because the paint really dries up really fast and you just don't want your brushes to get ruined. So leave it in the cup until we're done the party, and then you can really get in those bristles and rinse them out really good. Yay, Chris, I'm so glad it's going well. That's so great. Sweet. Okay, so take a good look. You can see the shape here. I'm going to turn over for you guys. What I like to do to make our long skinny lines, even though if you take a look, they're not very skinny. They look better from afar. And that's exactly what we're doing here, guys. We're just, we're taking an hour, maybe an hour and a half out of our day to paint. It just feels good to let it go and let that creativity flow. So we're not being super hard on ourselves. We're just having fun and hopefully learning something and hopefully finding some sort of random. But my painting is not perfect. It doesn't have to be. It's not about getting it perfect. It's just about getting through the painting. Is such a huge thing. Oh. Okay. I just realized that I might have lost my connection, so I apologize about that. Yeah, so it is bleeding through, and that's totally okay. Like, if you can see it in my painting, this brown area that I have back here, it's really hard to tell in the phone. I'm just using my phone. I have bright lights too, so I don't know why it's so hard to see. But you can actually see a lot of that texture and a lot of that red still poking through the brown, and it's 100% supposed to be that way. So it's all good if your red is bleeding through your brown. Don't try and fill it perfectly brown, because it's not going to work. Not right now anyways. Yeah, Danielle, it's okay if it's see-through. It's 100% okay for this part. Good, Tyler. That's awesome. Yes. Score. All right. So I wonder if, like, I do want to just take my painting down, if you can see So it is a little shiny, but if you check it out, you can still see, like, look at all those brush strokes. You can see a lot of red still poking through my brown, and it is not perfectly on there, and that's exactly because when you can see that red poking, it's like we're sitting in the grass. You can still see some of that light coming through the grass. So it's perfect. It's perfect. Now we are going to move into making some longer, thinner pieces of grass. We are going to continue to use brown. So if you have a liner brush, some sort of long skinny brush, that's what you're going to want to use. Any kind of brush that has a point on it should work fine. Or even if you have like a medium flat brush, something like this, you can always turn it on its side and use the side to flick up towards the sky. Oh, thanks, Comb Show. Thanks, Sammy. That makes me really happy. I'm glad I could be here for you. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to take my brush, okay? It's obviously been used a lot because it's not even straight anymore. And what I like to do is I grab my palette and I dip my brush in the water and I put a few drops of water just right next to my brown, okay? So I took 3 drops right next to my brown and I'm just gonna mix a little bit of brown into that water. Now, it's still gonna be brown and it might lighten it up a little bit, but it just loosens the paint a little bit so that when we make our skinny grasses, they just turn out a lot nicer when there's a little bit of extra water in it. But just in case there's too much water, I always cautiously squeegee my paintbrush. So I get it nice and full. So full, but I pull and I twist off some of that excess. I am using my long skinny brush, Erin. So this is a 1-inch liner brush. Any long skinny brush is going to work for this. And if you don't have one, it will be 100% okay to use a flat brush, and you flatten out your paintbrush like this, and then you use the skinny side of your brush to pull up and make the grass. So what we're going to do, and we're using brown. We're continuing to use the brown, Joe. Thank you for asking. So I have dipped my brush several times. I made a little pool next to my brown paint right now. And I'm just lubing it up a little bit, loosening the brown on my palette. And then I pull and I twist and turn off some of the excess water because I don't want it to drip, even though it probably wouldn't be the end of the world right now, but it's just a good practice. And you can see my brush is like super duper full of paint. Super full, but I've already squeegeed off all the excess water, so it's not dripping or anything, and that's a good sign, okay? So, here we go. All along this area here, we're just gonna pull up a few pieces of brown grass. So we did all our wispies, but this is gonna look like our cattails in the background. And I just really, really gently, I barely even touch the canvas, start inside the brown and I pull up towards the sky. And I'm making just a few random grassy marks here. So really, really light, guys, and it's that same kind of pull off the canvas feeling that I was talking about earlier. So when you're starting in the canvas, you pull up and off, up and off, up and off, up and off, up and off. And you can do a few like inside here too. It just makes it a little bit more dynamic. That putting brown inside the brown, going down to Brown Town. Here we go. And it doesn't have to be a crazy amount, just This is a really good practice for when we put our black grass on. So this is all in behind. A lot of this is going to get covered up. So take the time now to practice to make nice little grassies. And I'm making them all inside the brown area. And try your best. Maybe try and make a nice long one if you can, because the long ones are tricky, and you're going to want to practice even a couple of those because we have some really, really long pieces of black grass that are going on here. So just try and find a little flow with it. And then maybe even in the bottom here, try a nice long one. We put a little bit of water in the brown paint, but we put a lot of water in the black when we do this. And then I like to make a few extra prominent ones, so. And then there's a few that I like to put little flowers on the top. And my flowers are just a series of scribbles. So at the top of this one, I start at the top with a dot, and then I go blop, 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 blop. That's right, I blopped it up. And you can do that on a few little bloppies. So just take your brush, and I'll get in a little bit closer here. So I start right at the top of the grass. I make a little dot. And then I go dot, 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 almost like a scribble of dots. Just to make a little cattail-esque. Or I got corrected by this. I actually did a paint party at Point Pelee for the National Park one time. And they are called phragmites. And they're actually an invasive species. So a cattail would be more long and skinny. And these little things that I'm making here are invasive. So, how appropriate. How appropriate to make an invasive species amongst normal species. Okay. So I didn't go overly crazy, but that little bit of extra detail in there just comes through in the end when we start moving forward with our black over everything. It's so nice to have that contrast of the black and the brown in the background. So just take a few minutes and keep practicing your little grassies. I'm going to add another little phragmite over here. And yeah, you can pretty much make grass for days. And like I said, it always helps to make sound effects. So if you have to let it out. Let those deep breaths out. Let those voices out. Let it all. And it's all coming together. It certainly is. Oh. So, as you're working on the grass, I'll kind of explain the next step here. The next step is pretty much a mirror exactly of what we did up here. So we're going to do the same little wisps of grass like we did with the brown, and we're going to make the long pieces of grass with our long skinny sticks, only we're doing it in black, and we're just doing it a little bit lower. So it's really what makes this painting nice and dynamic. And then a lot of those like kind of weird colors that you get with your brown and your black in here can get covered up if you want. I'm actually just gonna give a little extra shoot shoot. Little extra shoot shoot in my boot boot. So like I was saying, if you wanted to make grass with your, if you only have like a big flat brush or something, you can put your flat brush straight on the canvas like this and pull up and also make grasses with a brush like this as well, as long as it's sharpened. So just make sure it's nice and flat when you look at it from the side. And then you put it on its side and you flick up towards the sky. All right, seeing a thumb. I'm gonna put some black on my canvas now. On my canvas. Yes, on my canvas, but also on my palette. And I'm just giving my big brush a good rinse. So we're gonna be using our big brush again next. So give it a good rinse, give it a good dry on your napkin. Get some black on your palette if it wasn't already on there. And then give me a thumbs up when you guys are ready to rock. Thumbs up. Okay, cool. I wonder if All right, perfect. Just want to get this focus in here a little bit better. Okay. So the next step, I gave my big 3/4 inch flat brush a really good rinse, and I dried it off on my napkin. And I have this habit of taking my fingers and smushing it. I like to smush. There's something relaxing doing this for me. So whatever your process is perfectly fine. So gave it a really good rinse. Go into the big brush. And we're gonna start working our black in. So I'm gonna bring in the original painting, my scuffed up old painting here. And I wonder if you can, okay, you can kind of see it. So there's a contrast. You have the brown here, and we're making a little black grassy knoll hill down just right at the bottom of our canvas. And that's gonna be our next step. So with my black paint, I have my brush here. I'm just gonna pull back and forth, get it all nice and filled up with black. Swing, 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 swing. And then right along the bottom, I'm gonna start swishing up. So we're gonna get those little wispies. If this seems like a little bit difficult going on, you can always add a little bit of water to your paint for this. So if you give a little dip in your cup, so just a little bit, guys. So a little dip, 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 then a little dip in your paint. That might loosen up your paint a little bit as well. You don't have to add water, but since we have so much paint on our canvas already, it might help. It might help the process, and it's totally okay. So I'm just going to continue, and I'm going to just make a dynamic grassy knoll like last time. I'm going to go up and down with my grassies. Some points it's going to get really low, and then some points it's going to get really high. If you get too high, you might want to change your type of grass. Okay. and then a little really low over here, and then I'm going to bring this knoll right back up on the other side. And like I said, I'll say it and repeat again. If you want to add a tiny drip of water to your paint to do this, that's cool. Just make sure that you dip your brush first and then hit your palette first before you go straight to your canvas. Because when you get a drippy of water on here, it can kind of, gets kind of tricky on your canvas. It can erase the paint and make a big drip line that is forever there. For some reason, this is a weird concept, but it happens. So I'm just going along and, you know, give it a couple goes just so it's nice and full and dynamic. We really want a nice little dynamic grassy knoll going on here. And if you want to wrap that grass around the side of your canvas as well, I know you might have already painted the sides of your canvas red, but you know, it's kind of cool when that grass wraps around the edges of your canvas, if that's what you're using. And I threw my brush in the cup. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the grasses this time, only it's a lot more legit. Meaning, it's definitely harder and definitely like kind of the end all be all when we put the black grass on. Not to make you scared, but it's always nice to take a lot of deep breaths while we're doing this and getting through. And I know we can do it. And we're going to be really easy on ourselves. And we're going to love the process. It's finding joy in the journey, my friends. Finding joy in the journey. Hashtag inspirational quote of the day. Okay, so now you can see these are some long grassies, okay? They take up the whole canvas. We start down at the bottom and we have to go all the way up to the top. And I can't express enough how this next technique that I'm going to show you really helps this process to get from the bottom all the way to the top in one fell swoop. And if it doesn't happen in one fell swoop, that's okay too. Because this is definitely, you know, I don't want to call it an advanced technique because nothing I do is like really advanced, but it can definitely take some practice and take a little bit of finesse. It might take a few tries to get it right. And I just, again, want to show you how uneven a lot of my grasses are here. Okay, fixing it up. I did not make, this is not a perfect painting, okay? But when you look at it from back here, it looks pretty good, right? And that's what it's all about. When you put it up on your wall and then somebody walks into your house and they like point at the wall over there and they're like, wow, did you make that painting over there? And you're like, yes. And they're like, you're amazing. And you're like, thank you. I know. Because these paintings aren't meant to be under a scrutiny. You know, we're not supposed to scrutinize these paintings. They're just for fun. And they look amazing from far away. Okay. So we're doing the same thing we did with the brown, only we're adding more water to our black this time. So I have my black here, okay? And I'm going to probably put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 drops of water right here, right beside the black, and then I bring some of that black into the water. Kind of like I'm making a little like puddle, little paint pool. It's like a little pool of black. Okay, here's 6, 7 drops of water, really making it nice and loose, okay? Loosening it up. It's nice and liquidy. And you, as we go through this process, you might have to continue adding some drops of water here. So, filling it up. Now, the ticket to this is the same as before. And please listen when I say this, okay? My brush is totally full. I don't just have a little paint on the end of my brush. I have a nice full brush full of paint. Same deal, I don't want it to run. So I just pull and I twist off some of that excess water just to make sure that it doesn't drip down the canvas. And even if it does, you know, there's a whole bunch of grass, it's fixable. Everything's figure outable, okay? And then, so right along the bottom here, I am gonna start my grasses. So start small and get in the flow again. So just start taking your brush and making lots of grassies, and they're going all different directions. Okay? Just get used to the flow of making the grass. And then every once in a while, make a long one. So really, really gently. Oh, make the noises. Do what you got to do to practice and get the flow of these grassies. And like I said, you know, our brushes work for us, but we also have to work for our brushes. So we can't expect our brush to stay the same the entire time. You want to give your brushes a double check and just make sure that they still have a point on them. Make sure that you are still have enough water to make your nice long grasses. So these are pretty long grasses here, and I'm getting longer and longer the braver I get. And really, we're going to be going right over top of our sunshine. Okay, all of that hard work we put into the background is all going to get covered up, but really that's what's dynamic about it. So we need to embrace this. And then when you start to get really, really brave, just going to press really, really lightly. Oh man. And oh, getting a little bit taller. Oh, that was hard. And, you know, if you need to like twist your canvas around, because this, I am right-handed and this was my left hand going, you know, we're going opposite of what like our arm is used to doing. So if you have to switch your canvas around to make sure your arm's still going in a very comfortable way, that works too. There's always ways to get around this. So I like to make, you know, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 big long grasses. But there are a lot, there's a lot of grass in this painting. So just keep going. And just remember that it's okay if they're really, really thick grasses. Nobody's here to judge you. We're just doing the best that we can. And I'm going to go for one more big one. Ah, right. Now, if your grasses are really dry, like this, the one that I made here, it's pretty dry, and that's because I didn't have enough paint or I didn't have enough water in my paint. So if your grass is super duper dry looking, just add a couple extra drops of water into your black paint and be fearless and make big grassies. Oh man. And see, that's what's so dynamic. You have to be brave enough to kind of go over your sun too, because having that sun kind of poking through the long grass is really, really cool. Such a like dynamic way to like see the sunset. Now, like I said, these could be, what did I call them? Fragments? Phragmites. Phragmites with a P. PH ragmites, okay? They often have leaves on them. So a good way to make a leaf, I take my brush, and it's not on all the, it's just on some random ones. I start down at the bottom, I pull up, and I start to push my brush. So you can see it got a little fatter. And then I pull up, and just as I pull up, I let go of the canvas, or let up off the canvas. So I'll do that a few times. You can have ones that get fat and then they flop over. But it's all about, it's kind of like a push and pull. So I push as I pull and I push. And then as I lift up off the canvas, I kind of swing them to the side. And just in a few random spots. And like the great Bob Ross once said, this is your world. So go ahead and make as many as you want. If you want all your grasses to have leaves on them, then do it, man. It's all good. Just go for it. Be brave. Painting is the most wonderful lesson in letting go of the outcome, especially at these parties, because you have to. We have a short period of time to spend together. And even though you can totally fix up stuff after the party's done, it's really nice to be able to say that you got through and really made a cool painting in just a really short period of time. And hopefully, it's always my intention and my hope that everybody walks away wanting to paint more at home, wanting to get their own paints and stuff. So just way to go, everybody, for already doing that and stepping up and getting your own paints and doing this with me. I can't wait to keep doing this. This is like my favoriteest thing to do in the whole world, is teach people how to paint. So I'm really, really grateful that everybody showed up tonight. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so we have to make our phragmites come to life. Our invasive species. Okay. I won't go too overboard on that. And you can do it a few different ways. So some of the smaller ones can just have those little scribble dots on them, like this. I just start at the top, I push, and I just kind of dab my brush back and forth. It's a little smaller on the top and a little fatter in the middle, and then it gets a little smaller at the bottom. Just want to, I don't know why I did that. Just so as to show you, you know, you just kind of do things sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay. All right. And then just in a few different spots, dot at the top, and I just kind of wiggle my brush and dab it back and forth. And these are just nice silhouettes of our marshland here. And then we're also going to make bigger ones. So these guys at the top are going to be a little bit more full. So I'm just going to like push my brush. I have a lot of black on there, but I'm just kind of dabbing it in that same direction. And you can let some of your bristles just kind of make little random marks there. They can be really, really expressive. I'm going to make a few bigger guys up here. And nature isn't perfect, so just make sure you're not making like perfect little balls on the top. We want them to be kind of sporadic and one of a kind. Oh, bless me. And then just looking at these is making me sneeze. Just painting this fauna is making my allergies start to come up. And then every once in a while, it's kind of cool. You can put like a couple little sticks coming out of these bigger ones. And even they can have their own little flowers on the ends too. And like I said before, you can put as few or as many of these guys as you want here. We can work on these for a few minutes. Because next step is ducks. If you want to get closer to, so maybe I'll put a bigger guy here just to kind of put some perspective in action. Big fragmite there. The nice big leaf. And you can just choose wherever you want to do that at. Wherever you want. Wherever you want it, put it there. Wherever you need it, put it there. Put it there. Okay. All right. And this is all coming together. Let me know how you guys are doing. Keep me in the loop, y'all. I'm assuming it's going very well. Very, very well for everybody. Maureen, that is actually a really, really good call. And you know what? I didn't say that at the beginning because that definitely is something that I suggest normally that I totally forgot to say. So often, even when I'm at our public parties, I tell people to take a picture of the painting on their phone just so you have a closer reference than you know, the painting's usually all far on the other side of the room sometimes and it's hard to see, so it's always nice to have a closer reference. So if you have set like a couple devices or if you have like a smart TV, it's nice to have the painting somewhere other than where you're watching me paint, and to have that double reference really makes a difference for sure. So I apologize for not saying that at first. My bad. Hopefully it's still going well for everybody. And the next step after this is the ducks, but take your time on this for a few minutes. Once your grasses are on here, you can always add little extra highlights and stuff. So what I like to do is I'll take a mixture of some yellow or some red, whatever colors are in the sky, and I just add a little bit of those colors into the flowers up at the top. So I just make little dots, and I'll put a couple little scribbles around. So I'll put a little orange. It's always nice to highlight with a little yellow, just kind of at the bottom to make it look like it's getting hit by the sunshine there. Over on that side, that's always nice to think about where your light source is coming from. So your light source is in the center, and it's shining out. And sorry, I'm getting distracted because I hear a dog barking, but I think it's just video games that I'm hearing being played in the background right now from my husband. Anyways, so the sun is shining in the back, and you kind of just think of like, where would the light be hitting these little plants here? So it's shining out, so it's going to hit like kind of the bottom edge over here, maybe these sides of this one, but it's your painting, so you kind of got to figure out where the light spots would be and where the dark spots would be. And then places where the sun is really, really shining would be like a yellow highlight. And then maybe if it's just getting a little bit of sunshine, it would be more red, like over here. Some sort of darker highlight. Or low light, whatever you want to call it. But generally, I just go around and I put a couple little dots of color in my flowers here. And I'm just making little dots and doing tiny little scribbles using the very tippy end of my brush here, just the very, very, very little tip. And not even in all of them, just a few. If you get super fancy, you could even put highlights on the sides of your grass. But that seems hard, so I'm not going to do that. But it might be a little easier on like the leaves here. If you want to just add a couple little highlights on your bigger leaves. And it doesn't have to make sense. And that's what's so cool about painting, is sometimes even just one little swish of color can insinuate something as a completely lit up that you would never, like, you know, our brains make it feel like it needs to be more complicated, but it really doesn't. It's just a matter of scribbling in a little bit of highlight on the sides. And it's really just scribbling. I'm just taking my brush and doing a little scribble along the side here. Not gonna lie, guys, I'm a little nervous about the ducks. So anybody who may have joined late, I did say that normally when I do these parties, I cut out ducks so people can trace them on and then paint them in, which is a really good practice. So if that's something that you want to do, that's 100% okay. I am gonna create the ducks for you so we can paint along together still and finish this painting. And then another way, if you're like a drawer, if you have a pencil and you just want to draw the duck on there first and then color it in, that's also a good technique to make these ducks work for you. I just have to find a little brush. Susan, oh yeah, I know, grass is a little hard. That is the truth, unfortunately. But it just takes a little practice. And just the fact that you're even trying is amazing. So, thumbs up. Super painty thumbs up. All right. How's everybody else doing with their grass right now? Is it working for you? Put that there. Try and get in here. Is anybody else feeling good about their paintings? Anybody? Okay. You're stuck on flowers and leaves? Absolutely, I can explain them again, Brianna. Thank you for asking. I'm happy to. Tyler, I'm drinking whiskey or scotch. It's Macallan 12-year scotch. Okay. So, grass or leaves. I'll make a leaf for you. So I'm just going to grab some black paint with my long skinny brush. Black paint, long skinny, filling it up, okay? Oh, my brush got wonky. Hold on a second. Okay, so my brush is nice and full here. And what I do is I start at the bottom. And anytime I'm trying to hit a specific area, I always use my pinky finger to kind of anchor my hand. Because I find if I'm trying to hit one blade of grass, it can get kind of like shaky. I'm like, So I put my pinky finger down. Now my hand's solid. I have a lot more control. Now I start at the bottom. And then as I pull up, I push my brush so that it gets a little fatter. And then as I pull out, I start to ease up and let just the tip of my brush kind of shoot up and off the canvas. So I start at the bottom, I push my brush, and as I come up, I gently let go up and off with my. And then as far as the flowers are concerned, with the very tippy end of my brush, I just make a series of little dots. So right at the top of my grass here, I make one little dot, and then I just make tiny little dots, and it gets a little fatter in the center. And then as I kind of move back towards the grass, it gets thinner. And that same motion can be huge or very, very small. It's the same thing. It's just pushing little dots with my brush. I get fat in the center and then skinny on the sides. And then when I make highlights, I do the same thing. I just take an itsy bitsy little bit of a highlight color. So red, orange, or yellow totally work for this, or white. And I make just a couple little dots on the side. And that's it. That's awesome. I can't wait to see Carla's painting. Nice work. Thank you for stealing her phone and telling me. That's wonderful. Oh, yay. Yay, Christine. Definitely keep trying. Okay, perfect. Great, guys. Okay. All right, so let's just take a couple deep breaths. I'm going to take a little sippy of my drink here. And we are going to paint some ducks. And yeah, you know what? You could totally use a Sharpie, Rachel. It's fine, but it doesn't have that same texture. So you could, if you were to write with a Sharpie on here, you could totally tell it's a Sharpie. There's this weird like shiny sheen when you put Sharpie on a canvas. Okay. All right. I don't know what brush I'm going to use. Okay, I'm going to use this guy. All right. So I have like just a little brush. And I'm going to take my time, and we're just going to make a series of little shapes. That's so great, Taylor. We're going to make a series of little shapes to make ducks. And I'm going to get super close with this, okay? So here we go. So you have to find the best spot on your painting to make the ducks. All right. Let's do this. Okay, so why don't we just take a look at the original first? And let's look at our ducks here. I can't even see if... Okay, here they are. So we have one duck here that has just one wing down. And then we have a duck up here, and he's kind of got a littler wing over here and just a bigger wing up here, okay? And we will start with the bottom duck. So I like to start with their little noggins, and then we make the bodies, and then we'll make the shape of the wings. And it's really just one line at a time, doing our best. And one rule of thumb that I always say is, even though these ducks are already small, they're already small enough, it's really easy to kind of get out of control. And these are just silhouettes. So really try and start small, because you can always make something bigger, but it's really hard to make it smaller, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Don't go crazy. Just start with little shapes, and I promise it'll all be okay. All right, so I have my little brush, and we're just using black. All right, I'm gonna try and get this up here as good as possible. Focus in on this area. Okay, so this duck, his wing is gonna come down inside this little area here. So I'm gonna start with this little head, which is just a lump, okay? So start small, make a little lump, and then I'm just gonna shoot out, and that's gonna be the top of his beak. So whenever you're using like a smaller brush, remember you might have to manipulate it. You might have to flatten it out or give it a little twist so that it's a nice little point on the end. You have to make your brush work for you. So we had this tiny little lump here, and then I pulled out, and that's going to be his wee little beak there. Then his body he's got like a hump on his back. But the hump is no taller than his head. So keep the hump in alignment with the top of his head. And I'm going to pull down, and the back of his back here is going to be his little tail that shoots out. All right. So we made a little lump, and then the beginnings of his little beak. And then we started at his back, and we pulled up and over, and then he's going to have a little feathery bum going on over here. Now we're going to start back at the beginning, and he's got just another little piece of his beak, like he's quacking away, like he's like, get out of here, hunters, run. He's got a little opening in his mouth, and just right, almost straight in alignment with the bottom of his beak, his little face comes together there, straight to his neck. So right in alignment with his beak, there's barely even a little lump there, just straight forward. And then we're going to fill his little face in black. Okay. So from there, we're going to lengthen his neck a little bit down. So right here, we're going to pull down a little bit and just lengthen out his quacker. And then we're going to meet his belly in the middle here. So I'm going to pull down a little bit and kind of almost right angle it towards the center here, and then fill in his body. It's just one little step at a time, and you can see my hand is directly on my painting. I'm really solid with my brush here. I'm not trying to be a hero and, do it from far away with the tip of my brush or anything like that. I'm pretty solid on my canvas here. And then his wing is going to fly down. So try, like I said, this is definitely a good practice, and try and not go too big. Start small and then get bigger. So it comes around, loops back down, and then he's got one little feather that pops out there. And then the back of his feather is just a series of pulls. So I pull out tiny little feathers, and it's almost equal, parallel to the other side of the wing until it comes around to the end here and starts to taper off at the end. And then I'm going to fill that in. I know I'm probably losing people like crazy right now. Totally. So for those of you who are not going to be listening, just thank you so much for showing up tonight, guys. If you're going to give up on me and leave, I just appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed your time, you can totally check out the links that I put up if you feel like contributing. And if you can't and you want to just share the heck out of these parties, I would absolutely super duper appreciate it. Okay, so we got one little duck. So I'll review. Top of his little noggin, gave him a little beak. Humped his back in alignment with the top of his head up backwards and gave him a little tail. And then we connected his belly to his neck and then brought his little wing down. Now he's flying into the sunset. I actually don't know if I can show it a little closer. Let me just try. I'm really trying my best here. Let me see. All right. Now the other one. The other duck. Okay. So I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit. All right, so same deal. This one's a little bit different shaped, but we're going with the same idea. So the one at the top has a little bit of a longer neck. So I'm just going to lengthen out his neck a little bit. So I'll start right here and then give him his noggin. And this one's not quacking. He's just got a beak. He's just got a beak, and his little head is not too far down from his beak. It's just this little tiny curve in there. I'm going to fill it in. Fill it in as we go. Then we're going to start with his bottom wing. And this little bottom wing curves up and almost reaches the end of his beak here. And I'm just going to feather it down a little bit. So when I say feather it down, I just take my brush and I pull out and I just make little notches here. And then it's probably going to come around here, so I'm just going to notch it. There we go. So there's his wing. There's one wing. Now the other one is a lot more like the bottom wing. So if anybody's talking right now, I can't really see. My ducks look cute. They still have to do the grass. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So let's just keep going. All right. So his neck's going to come a little bit further over here. Just a little bit. And his wing is going to really fly right up into the sky. So I'm going to pull up pretty far, maybe like 3/4 of an inch, half an inch. No, it's more 3/4 of an inch, probably the same size as the brush that we were using. And it's going to angle off, curve up towards the sky. And then this is where the leaf, or I keep saying leaves, but his feathers are going to feather out on this side of his wing. And they'll curve it a little bit, but generally we're staying at the same length or the same width along the side here. The main dynamic is in the top part of his wing, and then this stays pretty steady over here. And then he's just got actually a little bit of a square bum, so he's got more of a square feather tail back here. And then I'm going to connect them together, give him a little belly there, and then fill all of this in. And once this is done, we can sign our paintings. And this is one of those things too. So after we kind of put it on, We can take an assessment. If there's little areas that seem really out of whack, since they're silhouettes, you can always kind of like manipulate them a little bit more because they're just black. So if you want his tail to be a little bit wider, you can, or a little longer. These things are totally possible when you're working with silhouettes of anything, really. And there you go. You got the ducks. Who's got the ducks? We got those ducks. Yeah. So take a good look. I am going to leave it there for 1 second. 1 second only. And I really, really hope this is working out for everybody. And if not, hopefully everybody just cruised away so that they could go print their own ducks and add them on there. And I'm going to pull that back a little bit. See if anybody's saying anything. Your ducks are better than your grass. Nice, Susan. That's awesome. You're going to make a Canadian goose money? That's sweet too. It's a good night to enjoy ginger and scotch. I agree. Mine's just scotch on ice with a little water, but that's fine. Oh, wood stove going. That sounds magical. So magical. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I'm going to assume that these ducks, a lot of ducks are going to end up looking like other types of birds or whatnots. Maybe they'll turn into like flying saucers or something. Who knows? Your ducks look like turtles. Slow and steady wins the race. They do kind of look like turtles. So, I mean, like, yeah, just make some flying turtles. I bet you if you took a step back, you'd be like, oh. Debbie, when I just Google duck silhouette, and you'll find that tons of duck silhouettes will come up on the internet. So you can totally just steal it from the internet. Your ducks look like blue jays? That's cool. My ducks look like wonderful sloths slowly flopping through the air. Blue jay penguins, it's awesome. See, you guys are super creative. So if you're not ready to put the ducks on, that's totally cool. But the very last step in this process is just signing your name. Put your initials on it. Do whatever you're going to do. Put your thumbprint. And voila! You've made your painting. Yay! Nice work, everybody. I'm so proud of you. Good, I'm glad. So just make sure that you take a picture of your painting and send it to me so I can tell you how amazing it is. And I just really appreciate it. For anybody who has asked to join my Facebook group, so I made a group on Facebook, which everybody is more than welcome to join, but I don't really know a whole lot about Facebook groups, so I'm just learning. I don't really even know what to post in there yet, but I'll get the hang of it. Everything that I'm doing right now is all brand new to me, so I'm just kind of going with the flow and working it out. A little selfless promotion. So basically, I've been doing all of these free parties, and I felt like I had to do something for the parties that I had to postpone or cancel. So one of those parties was supposed to be at the Grove on March 24th, but I have now scheduled it for May 2nd, and it's a feather painting, and it's really, really pretty. And we do it on a long, skinny canvas, but you can do it on any kind of canvas you want. But it is going to be my first paid paint party, and it's $15 if you guys want to join in and make a really pretty painting. I just felt like it was important to charge because so many people had already paid for that particular class. So if you do want to join in, you're more than welcome. The event is up on my Facebook page. And yes, Erin, ducks are freaking hard. So if you even made anything remotely resembling a duck, nice work. Ducktastic. You guys are hilarious. Thanks, Patty. Miss you so much, friend. You should stick to flowers. Flowers are definitely easier than ducks. Thanks, Deb. I'm glad you had a great time. This is the funnest. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. This is the best ever. So it gives me something to look forward to too. I really, really, really appreciate you guys showing up live, especially when you know you can do it after. It just makes such a huge difference to me, and I love chatting with you guys. And it's nice that I can at least help you if you do have questions. Whereas if you do the stuff after, you kind of get what you get. Oh, good, Anne. I'm glad you came. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off pretty quick here. So, paid party May 2nd. It's $15 to join in. And I will be posting another free virtual party next week. I have to look at my calendar, but it will probably be a kids party. And yeah, just flying by the seat of my pants. So thanks, guys. You can send the pictures anywhere. You can either private message me or put them right on my page, or usually anywhere where I posted the party. If I said like free virtual paint party, you can put the pictures in the news feed there too. I get all the notifications, and I think I hit most of them. Sometimes a couple might fall through the cracks, so if that happens, I'm really, really sorry. That's not my intention at all. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Susan. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everybody. Judy followed the posted picture, so that's that. Yeah, no, they are backwards in the live because I'm just on my phone and it's facing me. You can see my Julie's paint party is backwards too. So thanks, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go now. Have a fantastic evening, and I'll see you on the flip side. Stay safe and stay healthy and stay home. Lots of love to all of you. Bye.